Welcome to MicdinPod. We are your hosts, Jeremy and Val.
That's me.
We are not experts, just parents of 2 college athletes and 2 in youth sports.
On this podcast, we're bringing together athletes, parents, and coaches to talk honestly about youth sports recruiting, pressure, identity, and everything in between.
Thanks for being locked in with MicdinPod. And today we are joined by a special guest. His name is Lamar Reddicks. And now let me give you a little background on Lamar Reddicks, right? So this guy, big-time basketball player from Milton, Massachusetts. He played in an era that was ridiculous because I played in that era. I couldn't get to the super team. This guy is a super teamer. For those that don't know what a super teamer is, it's a top five player in the state of Massachusetts. And that's who we're talking to. He's a 1996 state champion. He is a Milton High School Hall of Famer.
Me too.
Love it.
Oh, listen, I'm a Hall of Famer too. Let's not get it twisted. I'm still a Hall of Famer too, man.
In your own mind, it's okay.
He then goes on to Bentley College, now Bentley University. He goes on to Bentley College, 2-year captain, team MVP. Then after his playing days, he goes and coaches at assistant coach at Harvard for 7 years. Then goes on and coaches 1 year at BU. And I would love to hear more about the Harvard because I know you coach Jeremy Lin, and that's crazy to me that you coach Jeremy Lin.
First name like that, he was awesome. You know that.
We're going to get into that. I can't wait to get into that.
Right.
But right now, what he is he's the Milton Academy head basketball coach and director of athletics, and he's been doing that for the last 15 years or so.
18.
He's
scary.
He's a NEPSAC 2010 NEPSAC Coach of the Year. He's an ISL Coach of the Year. He's been through it all. He's seen every aspect, every angle. He's an athlete. He's a coach, and now he's directing and guiding student athletes in this process of being an athlete and making each step and going to high school, going to college. So for everybody, please give a warm welcome to the one and only Lamar Reddicks.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be a great moment. I'm for sure.
Yeah, I feel like you have a lot of things to say. I feel like we started this podcast because we had our daughters at a relatively young age, and we didn't know what we didn't know. You know, we just put them in sports and let them go play. And I feel like now we're doing it again with our sons, and now we see kind of what's going on. We're like, that doesn't make sense. That's you can worry about that later. That's not important right now. And you know, we kind of like have some expertise on things, but we are not experts. So we try to bring in experts, kind of like you, who can bridge the gap and help people figure out this process.
Yeah, so one, I'm not an expert. I've just seen enough to know enough, right? And almost to call myself dangerous in that sense. So, and probably for your daughters, it was almost a time where you didn't need to know as much. Like, you know, there was a lot that was happening and that they could make happen. And now everyone is looking for the opportunity to give their kid a little bit of an advantage, whatever that is. And so, therefore, like you now need to know what you're getting yourself into before you get into it, because there are potholes and landmines along the way, and you don't want to step on either one of those.
Yeah, I think when our oldest was starting, it was just starting to get to the developmental phases of playing all year round, right? So she's 23, going on 24. So when she got into clubs, she was about 10. That's when we started to see like, oh, you know, and it was like it wasn't the club that it is now. And now we're seeing 6-year-olds are jumping into club and you're playing all year round. So you coach your son, correct?
I do.
And either as a parent or coach, when did you really see that the shift went from like development, if you've noticed, the shift went from development to the pressures of, excelling, or the labels about, you hear people saying, 10 years old, oh, he's a phenom, or they're going to be this, or that team's going to be, predicting you know, elementary kids to be the best, or their teams to be the best. When did you see that shift happen and like youth sports, where the pressure really started to like kick in?
Yeah, early on. Like I think we were part of an AAU team years ago, and I don't know. He was might have been 10 years old or so, and they were like, and you know what? We want to win a championship, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa! Like we want these kids to actually like the game of basketball. Like I think that's actually the most important thing. And so I think the pressures of people labeling a kid early is unfair, to be honest with you, because most of the time the kid who is the early phenom is usually just an average player when he gets to high school. He hasn't gone through puberty. He hasn't had that growth spurt, and so I'm always very careful about labeling a kid too soon. And also, I think one of the things that I probably do the best here, in terms of my recruiting to the school like Milton, is finding kids who actually have not peaked early and who are blossoming. And so the majority of the kids that I've taken here at Milton have been kids who are not highly ranked kids, and they leave here as highly ranked kids. And so, but that's part of, like, I see something in them, in their growth, that I believe that has yet to fully blossom, and that there's something, that is to become later. And so, so I think that's one of the things that we do probably best here at Milton, is finding the kid that's going to come in here and work hard and develop into, and they got to want to be that kid too. Like, and that's the other part. It's like, you put this pressure on this kid and say that he's a phenom at this age, he may not even love the sport. Like, he's just trying to figure things out at this point in time in their life, so I think that's a hard label to put on kids, but it is put on kids really early. It's a lot of pressure that happens for these young kids, these young athletes. And my biggest thing is about development. And so all the time that I've coached, whether it was youth sports, and I've literally have done it all from, I think the pros is the only thing I haven't done. I've done every level of basketball there possibly is. And I think the biggest thing for me is that I want kids to be able to enjoy the sport. That is the number one thing. I have a passion for it. I love it, and I know that. And they may not ever have that much passion that I have, but my biggest thing is that they walk away with a quality experience and that they love the sport.
So, just to touch on the fact that you said about blossoming, is that, and they might not come in here and be like, the top recruit, but are you looking at coachability then? Are you looking at, if we're not looking at coachability and work ethic, are those some of the qualities that you're looking at?
Those things are huge. Like so like I said, the kids who have come here and they've turned themselves into, like, we had a kid who played in the Elite Eight last week, for Purdue. And we have kids who are at, Princeton, Yale, Boston College, UNH. Like, we have a lot of kids at Colorado College. We have a lot of kids who are playing basketball currently right now in the college ranks, and all those kids came here as guys who had a chip on their shoulder, loved the game of basketball, and wanted to improve, and were coachable, and they left here as high-ranking kids and some of the better players in New England. And so you gotta have that want, for sure. And you gotta be coachable, in this day and age.
So you say being coachable. So what other qualities are you looking for when you're looking at kids coming into high school as a coach, as an AD? What are you looking for in your kids beyond talent?
Yeah. And it goes far beyond talent, because there are talented kids who I've passed on before in my time here in Milton. They have to want to be, again, you talked about coaching, but like, they got to want to be a part of a team. We talk about the team is the strongest part of Milton, is the team. And so, you got to want to come here. You're going to have to give a little bit of yourself to the team. And that's hard for some kids to hear that message, and some families as well. And so I recruit families. I just don't recruit kids, to be honest with you. And so I like hearing what families have to say and where they are in this process. And, I remember vividly a kid, and he was an awesome player. Like, this kid was a tremendous player. And all he talked about was how many touches I was going to get. And I was like, well, we don't really talk about that here. And so, and I was like, that doesn't feel like it's going to be a great fit here, because if that's what you're worried about, we really worry about trying to play the best basketball that we possibly can and making the right basketball play. And maybe that best basketball play is not as sexy as setting a screen, but that might be the best basketball play. And so we want kids who want to buy into that and be able to, and college coaches, which weirdly enough, like most kids when they leave here are going to be a role player at the next place that they go, right? So like you need to actually be able to be good at all those other things. And so we talk about this quite a bit, like Luka Doncic, right? He has the highest usage rate, which means the ball is in his hands more than anybody else. But like the majority of the time you are playing the game of basketball without the ball in your hands. And so what are you doing in those moments when the ball is not in your hands? Are you screening to get somebody open? Are you cutting to get open yourself? Like, what are you doing? We emphasize those moments when the ball is not in your hands quite a bit in this program here. And we've been successful with it. So it's worked.
It's cool that you say that in high school, you recruit the family, because
Yes.
when we go through this, when we went through the recruiting process with our daughters, this is what college coaches were saying. Like they not only recruit the kid, they recruit the family. So parents listening to this need to understand you need to bring it in a little bit, because you can ruin it for your kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of them don't understand that. They don't understand how them being too much, too screaming and coaching from the sidelines, that could really hinder their child not only getting into college, but getting into high school like a Milton Academy. So can you touch on that?
Yeah, well, I think it's such a great point. Like, I have many examples of like, hey, I would never recruit that kid because of the father in the stands. I had years ago, I had a parent that was talking poorly about me as the coach, but he was sitting next to two college coaches who are close friends of mine. Like literally two close friends of mine. And so they're like legit texting me. My phone's in the locker room, but they're texting me all the things and I didn't care. I honestly, that doesn't faze me. Like that, I think that he was saying stuff about me, but those two guys took notice to it. They're like, yeah, we're not going to recruit this guy, this family. So it's a dangerous path to go down. I think, I think now winning and losing and trying to keep your job, there's so many things that college coaches are trying to look at. And so who they're bringing into their family. And I look at Milton Academy basketball as a family. And so like, you don't want to invite craziness into your family. Right. And so, so like, that's why it's really important for me to make sure we have the right families here. And we just had our banquet on Monday of this week, and I bought gifts for our families. I thanked my families because they are awesome families. And we saw the contrast at different schools that we played at, where parents are yelling at their kids, yelling at the coaches, yelling at the referees. Like, like one referee challenged an opposing parent to a fight in the after a game. Like it's just wildness and crazy. And that's just not what this game needs. Like, you need some humility. You need to you also need to let your kid, like I talk about this quite a bit in our program as well, is like, you actually need to fail in order to be successful. I
love it. Yes.
And that's a huge part of it. Like, if you're more than likely when you come here, you're going to experience some failure. You're going to play against bigger, stronger, and faster here. And even the best players, like this kid here is on my wall. Both these two guys, Dennis Clifford, who played at Boston College, and Cormac Ryan, who just finished up with UNC a couple of years ago, is now actually, he had 25 points the other night against the Milwaukee.
I saw that.
Bucks.
I saw that.
All because he played here. No, I'm just sorry. But like, those kids came here. They were great families. They came here. They wanted to work hard, and they did. And they love basketball. And it's just, we've been really lucky in that sense. But like even those two guys, those are two of the best players to ever play here, hands down, not even close. Right? Those two guys had failures at some point in time that made them better along the way. And so I truly believe that you have to go through the hard in order to, and literally to appreciate the good, but also like to ever get to the point of being the player that you want to be.
So, I mean, you're touching on another question I was going to have about, as an athletic director, what do you think that parents, even athletes, are missing about the high school experience? Because a lot of them are going from youth sports, and when they get to high school, some of it, they're not even invested in what they do in high school. And I kind of give you a little backstory with us. When our oldest was playing soccer, and that was where she wanted to do for college, she also played basketball, and our basketball team was really good. They had won 2 state championships while she was on the team, and but soccer was her number one love. But she was in season with basketball. She made the decision to be on the basketball team. She loved the basketball team. However, that meant she couldn't go to her soccer club practices with her team. So she went to basketball practice, and she would practice with another team just to show her dedication to the team, that she was still going to come to practice, even if it meant practicing with another team. But
Another son of a team, yeah.
I say that because a lot of parents that we've interacted with, they're so quick to jump to the college experience and push them towards the college recruitment, that they're forgetting about the value of the high school, the value of the work ethic. And from what you're saying a lot with the families, and what how much you look at the families, you're talking a lot about culture, right?
Yeah.
You're talking a lot about a culture, a buy-in of a culture. You're talking that goes from being with you in the gym and what they also get in their household, right? And it's a unit. And there's a lot of teams and that are very one-sided. It's very one mission for their kids, with the end goal of recruitment, versus actually buying in and teaching their kids to buy into a culture and the teamwork. How do you teach that? How do you incorporate that culture? Do you talking to your team and saying, hey, this is what my expectations? Because I highly believe that when people know their expectations, they can achieve them. And we talk about a lot with our kids, that a lot of times these kids are individuals because they don't know the expectations. They only think me. Do you talk about that with culture? Do you talk about the expectations right from the beginning, so that they can articulate or set those goals, so that they know that they're within the parameters of the culture under you as a coach?
We talk about it all the time here in our program, and it's literally like one of the first things that I'll say is, and I love seeing it. It's actually like for our kids to be each other's biggest cheerleaders for each other, and also know that things are going to happen for one kid differently than it's going to happen for another one. Like the difference is, when we were in high school, like there wasn't social media. You didn't see all these kids getting offers and posts about things that are happening in their lives, and as much as we do now. And so it's really hard, right? Like you're always trying to compare yourself to somebody else. And so we really just try to say, hey, listen, it's going to happen for you. I use this quote all the time, the sun and the moon, both of them will shine when it's their turn to shine. And so just, I always say with our kids, like, you're good enough, and your time to shine will happen. It just won't happen on the same calendar date that it happens for the kid next to you, right? And so we really try to focus on really being the biggest cheerleader for each other. At our banquet, I actually showed a picture of our team, on the bench, cheering for a play that happened on the court, and I had this quote next to it because it actually defined our team, like how much they, I had so many families and parents or people who would acknowledge like how our bench energy was throughout the whole entire game. And I had this quote next to this picture that I had. It said, "The strongest teams are built by people who clap for others' growth and not compete with each other's shine." And I thought that was such a defining quote for our program, because we had everybody rooted for each other's success, and my players do this all the time for each other, whether They're here. We have some kids who play football too. Like all of our basketball players are at all of our football games cheering on our football guys. And after the game's over, that's the first group that they go and meet is some of the guys from the basketball team. And so it's about cheering for each other and supporting each other, and that goes for the families too in the stands. Like with every family, there's no doubt about it. You feel the tension of wanting something great to happen for your kid in terms of the college process, and it's going to happen on a different timeline than the kid next to you, than the family next to you. And you just got to be supportive of each other, and that's what I have right now. I have a culture or a community of folks who root for each other and cheer for each other. There were so many countless games where kids were injured or sick and parents were still showing up to support the rest of the team. I know that I'm pretty lucky to have the families that I have and the kids that I have, but I think that starts with the process that I do very early on in trying to decipher whether these families are a good fit for what we're trying to do here. And in the college process, this is your life, this is your livelihood. So for me, I'm also the athletic director. I'm not worried about losing my job as the basketball coach. So for these other folks, when it gets to the college world, like this is their livelihood. This is how they feed their families. And so, so bringing craziness into that environment just is not for me. And so, and it's hard. This stuff is hard. You guys know this. You sit in the sideline. You want your kid to be the best and to do the best and for it all to work out for them. And you know what? There are days where it just doesn't happen that way. And it's hard. And so, you see parents losing their minds all the time. Like, there's probably not if I go through my social media later on tonight, there will inevitably be some type of thing that happened at a youth sport that is ugly, whether it's the referee fighting or a parent fighting in the stands. It's just, there's something that happens all the time. And it's really scary because this is, it's a really scary thing to see because it's happening far too many times now. And it's just, people are losing their minds. And it doesn't matter what the sport is. It's happening more and more, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's happening younger and younger at
yes,
games that I could seeing people yelling at. I mean, at what point do you think it's okay to yell at the 10-year-old ref at your third grader's game? Like at what point is that like, oh, okay, they're volunteering because they're trying to get experience, and I mean, it's a different times, and so we hope these conversations really start to help people reevaluate where they're at and that these are kids. They're kids. They're somebody's kid.
Yes.
Yeah. We always say like the kids aren't messing this thing up. It's the parents that are messing this thing up.
100% is. It's been that way for a long time. The kid, and that's the other part to it too. And you guys have watched this. Like, there might be trash talking in the games, but you know what? Those kids shake hands at the end of the game, and they're
100%. 100%. That's like, we see it all the time. My one of my sons, he's playing now. He's 10 years old, and the kids are going at it. They're like really competing. And as a coach and as a dad, I'm like looking at it like, this is beautiful. This is how we grew up. This is beautiful because then after the game, they go shake hands, and it's all in the fun of sports and competition. But the problem happens is when they're going at it, and then mom and dad are in the stands, and then they start chirping, and then mom and dad on the other side start chirping back, and that's when it all implodes. So
and that does affect the kid. And I think it's affected our kids where there's a parent yelling at them. They're fine with the player playing aggressive, but they can hear the other parents yell at them or screaming, "Oh, travel! He's in 4th grade. He's gonna travel." You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's supposed to travel. Like you don't need to point that out. And we have seen it, with different kids. They're getting more stressed, not against the person that's defending them, more stressed at what they're hearing in the stands.
The environment,
the environment
that we are creating. And so I actually use this exercise every once in a while at a team get together. Is that so I put a kid in the middle of the room, right? And I say to his parents to call him over, and I'm on the other side of the room, and I call him over, and I say, "What do you want this kid to do?" I said, so if you're in the game and I'm telling the kid to pass it and you're telling the kid to shoot it, what do you think this kid is? Do you think this kid's going to be successful when he's hearing from his parents to do one thing and for me to do another thing? And so I use that as an example. That I tell the kid sits in the middle of the room and I'm as his coach saying, "Hey, come here," and his parents are saying, "Hey, come here." And I use that as an example. I'm like, where's the kid supposed to go? And how is this kid supposed to be successful? Where is the choice that this kid makes? And inevitably the kid just stands there. He doesn't know where to go. Right. Like, and so I said, so think about that when you put this kid in the court. Now you start yelling, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it. And I'm like, hey, we're running this play. Pass it to Jeremy. Now, which that's a bad idea to pass it to Jeremy. Pass it to Val. Pass it to Val. Pass it to Val.
You ain't getting it back. If you pass it to me, you ain't getting it back.
Right. Exactly. That's why I changed that up a little bit. But think about that scenario always puts in perspective for parents, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be yelling from the bench to do X, Y, and Z. And I see it all the time. Unfortunately, see it. I'm in the gym way too much, and I see it all the time, and it bothers me. And I'm like, I hope you don't think this kid is going to be successful if you're yelling one thing and the coaches are yelling another thing. That poor kid is just in conflict all the time.
It's like that meme that was on. It was going viral for a while. A couple would have a pet, like a dog, and
yes, it's exactly.
And then they would both take off in each direction, and then the dog turns and looks both ways and doesn't know which way to go, and the dog just sits there. You know what I mean? Yep. That's what that's what the parents are doing to their kids.
They are, and it's sad and it's unfortunate. And I so I just think it's really hard for kids. And usually for me, like, it hasn't happened in a long time, but usually I'm quick to pick up a phone and really just say, hey, listen, you sent your kid here to be coached by me. Let me coach him.
Let me do my job.
And
I like that.
It's not the kid's fault. It's 100% not the kid's fault. And I, like I said, most of my parents I've had, like, they actually say, I actually sent them here for you to coach them, do your thing. And so, again, that goes to the process here that we try to implement.
I think too, some of the parents are break. I think a lot of parents go from you coaching them from early on in travel or young, and then and you're used to yelling at them. You're used to yelling things out to them, and then they get to high school AAU. You're not their coach anymore, Dad. You know what I mean? You're not their coach anymore, Mom. So I do see some of that where good people, the parents, just get a little bit caught up, right? But like, it's these conversations that make you, kind of recheck you with that. Oh, I was the coach and I was coaching them for the last 5 or 6 years. And you know what, Jeremy, I know every single one of those kids. Like, every some kids. So you'll see sometimes those parents still like coaching on the sideline, not intentionally to disrupt, out of habit.
So I will tell you this. So I have coached my whole entire life since I was 22 years old. I've coached. I've been on the sideline for since I was 22 years old. I've coached my son for the last 4 years. I am so happy that I've coached him his whole entire life, but I'm so happy that he's going to have somebody else to listen to. And it's been one of my greatest joys is coaching him and being around him. And I'm so happy to pass him off to his new coach next year. And I will not say a word, whether it's in a car on the car ride home. I don't, unless my son wants to talk about it, but I will not say a word. He has a coach, and that guy will now coach him, and that's 100% how I will handle this as a parent now. That's not coaching my son. Well, I've coached my son for a lifetime, like a legit lifetime. And so it's to me, it's been the best thing I've ever done, but I'm also so excited to be just a parent and just to be able to support him, because what I do now, like when I coach him, he might make a great play in the game and I can't really get excited about it because I don't do that when, the other kids make a great play in the game. I'm coaching the game. And so, but then as a parent, I go back and watch it later on at night. And I'm like, oh, that was a really nice dunk or a really nice play. And I get to enjoy it. Then now I can just enjoy it one way or another. And I also know that he's going to have his ups and downs and he's got to be able to go through that and deal with that with his coach. I'm excited for that for him too.
Yes. So listen, I want to move into the college and Division 1, 2, and 3 and the differences. But I think you have a unique experience. I want to ask you about, because you coach your son, the car ride home. I want you to touch on how important the car ride home is, because a lot of times it's devastating for these kids because I just went 1 for 7 with 6 turnovers. I know I'm going to hear it from dad the whole car ride home because he just paid $25 to get into this building to watch me go 1-4. So can you elaborate and speak on how important that car ride home is?
Yeah, I actually talk about this with our parents too. I said, listen, here's the deal. If I am Jerry, if I'm your father and you just played a game and you didn't play well, I'm sorry, I'm your coach, and you didn't play well, I am positive that I've said something to you in the locker room about you not playing well. Or maybe in game, I've said something to you about you not playing well. You probably don't need a car ride back home for the next 25 minutes hearing how you didn't play well. You actually need the opposite. You need the support. You need someone to pick you up. You need someone to say, hey, do you want to get McDonald's or, ice cream on the way home? Like you need something different. You don't need another, well, you should have had this rebound. You should have dove after this ball. You should have boxed that kid out. Like you don't need more of that because you just had that for the last, hour and a half. Right. So, I try to tell parents, like the best thing you can do is just love your child when they get in the car. That's the best thing you can do. If they've had a good game, you can tell them no matter what, you should say, hey, you had a good game, and just be supportive for them. And if they want to talk about it, great. Because they might need to decompress themselves. But if they don't want to talk about it, it shouldn't be the topic of conversation on the car ride home. That's my advice. But I've done this again for a long period of time. I'm confident that if your kid didn't play well, didn't take enough shots, or whatever the case may be, they probably know that, and they don't need to hear it the whole car ride back. They need something different at that point in time.
We always say, ice cream, win or loss. We can get ice cream, win or loss.
Yep.
But we do have 4 different personalities. And with those 4 different personalities, I will say we have one that wants to talk about it from the moment they would get off a quarter field. Like, did you see this? What do you think about this? But, immediately wants to talk about the whole ride. And we have another one who does not want to hear a thing that we have to say, probably for at least an hour, and then wants to watch film. The other one doesn't want to watch film, just wants to talk about what happened immediately. And then the boys are fluctuating here and there, depending on what it is. So I think one of the things I would say is, like, we let the kids guide us.
Yes.
We let the kids guide us on how they want to handle it, what they want to talk about, and then we go from there. Now, if they want to talk about it, we're going to be real with them. That's for sure.
And you should be real with them. And I think, I think what you just said is meeting them where they're at. Like that's the biggest thing, is just try to meet them where they're at. Like if your kid gets in the car and he just sits back and he pouts, like, listen, that might be what he needs for that moment, right? If that kid gets in the car and is like, did you see that screen? She hit me and whatever. Like, it's like, and they just might need to decompress a little bit. But just trying to meet the kids where they're at. But at the same time, like, and I think being real with them is important. I think that's the one thing. If you play for me, you're going to get real. You're never going to get fake. I'm going to tell you like it is, good, bad, or indifferent. But I also still love you at the same time too. And I'm always over it. Like if I have something to say to you, I'm over it as soon as I've said it to you. Like let's move on to the next one.
Yes.
And so,
I like that.
and as a parent, the same way too. Like I'm not going to hold on to something, dwell on something. I need to say what I need to say, and we need to be able to move on from there. We actually talk about this quite a bit in our program, is the next play mentality. So if I'm coaching you on what just happened, like now I need you to get on to the next play. That's the most important play, which is the next play. So there's a teaching moment that needs to happen. It happened, and let's go on to the next thing.
That's good. I like that. So listen, you coached Jeremy Lin, right?
I did.
There is a difference.
The second best Jeremy I've seen play basketball.
100%. We already knew that.
Stop blazing, Lamar. Stop blazing.
We already knew that. That goes without saying, But there are differences in Division 1, 2, and 3. I want to know if you can elaborate on the commitment level between the different divisions, the level of training that's needed to make it to these different different levels of basketball, and just elaborate on, because you've seen greatness. You know, Linsanity was greatness, man. That was
it's one of
that
the greatest
took
things we'll
over.
ever see. Yeah, well, one of
No,
the greatest
it was
things we've ever seen in
wild
basketball.
time.
Yeah.
Even academically, what kids need academically to compete at the different levels?
So I'll start with the academics first, right? Mind you, because I just think you ask better questions, Valerie, just so you know.
Thank you.
That goes without
So,
saying too. You're not listen. You're supposed to give us information that we don't know. I think we already know that.
So I always say this, like, and again, you know, this is, most parents are preaching this anyways, is really to try to be the best you possibly can in the classroom, because it will open up more doors for you. The brighter you are, the better your grades are, the more opportunities that lend yourself. And so you want to be able to access every door. You actually want to be able to say, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. You don't want schools to be like, yeah, no, thank you. You don't have the grades for us. And so, really, elevating your academics allows you to be able to afford you the opportunity to be able to kind of pick and choose some schools that wouldn't be able to pick you if you don't have the type of grades. And so here in particular, we really try to have our kids, obviously Milton's a high academic school, and so most of our kids here are, but even within the high academic school, is to do well so that you can afford yourself opportunities that may not exist otherwise. In terms of the levels that Jeremy asked about, there are different levels, but start to think about this. Ready? So I was a college coach, right? Once I've come down to this high school level, I still try to run my program like a college coach. And so, yes, there are differences. There's levels to this. There's no doubt about it. But, what you see now is that it's super competitive at the Division I level. It's super competitive whether you're playing Division II, you're playing Division III. And one of the things I like to do as a college coach, as a high school student, as a high school coach, is for our kids to go see a Division III game, and to see how athletic and how strong and how fast the game is.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Because I think everyone just thinks like, oh, I can play at that level. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
I'm not sure if you can actually.
Yes. Very good point. I love that.
And so and then in the contrast, like, hey, go see a Division I game, and probably the difference is that the bodies are a little bit bigger, it's a little bit faster, but no matter if you're playing Division I or Division II or Division III, it's hard to play. It's hard to play at that next level. And it's gotten even harder to play at that next level, which I'm sure I'll talk about at some point in time too. So there are levels to it. I've had kids who have played pretty much at every single level here. And the difference is that, you are usually bigger, stronger, and faster, or you have a special gift, like you shoot the ball at a high level, and so for all of our kids, I tell them, I said, your goal shouldn't be to play Division I. Your goal is to play college basketball, because I think it's hard enough to just do that. And if you come in here with an attitude that I want to just play college basketball, and be able to go to the best academic school, then you're going to be in good shape. So we've had kids who have gone to Amherst, Claremont McKenna, high academic Division III schools, Tufts, Babson, you name it. Like, you name the high academic Division III school, we've had a kid go there, and it's shaped the rest of their lives. And so I never tell any of our kids to poo-poo a Division III school, because those schools can be life-changing for you as well. Everyone wants the scholarship, and that's all great too, and I understand that, but that's for 4 years. You want to be able to shape the rest of your life, and so trying to find the best school that fits you, allows you the ability to be able to play. Those are the most important things. And we have had kids play at the highest level. Like I told you, we had a kid play in the Elite Eight last week. Like, that's a pretty awesome thing to be able to watch on TV, is that, hey, that kid played for me, and here he is starting on Purdue's team that was number 1 in the country to start the year off. Like, that's a pretty cool thing to say. Or I was out in California last week, and the kid Cormac Ryan was on the Milwaukee Bucks, and he happened to be playing the LA Clippers, and so I got to have dinner with him and my other captain that was with him when he was here, and it was the time of my life. And that kid played at Stanford, Notre Dame, and UNC during his college time, and now is on the Milwaukee Bucks and had 25 points just a few nights ago. Like, that's a pretty awesome thing to be able to
Very
watch
cool.
from my vantage point. And also the fact that I still have lifelong relationships with these kids. Like, like I had dinner with those two guys the night before they played the Clippers, and it was I was driving back to my hotel, and I was like, man, that was an awesome 3 hours.
Yeah.
We sat there for like 3 hours and just laughed and joked, and they were making up all these stories about me yelling at them and stuff like that. That never happened. That never happened. You guys are making this stuff up. And they swear this stuff happened, but I'm like, this is phony. But anyway, but it was awesome. It was, and I have that with all my kids. Like, you come play for me, you are part of the family, and I never stop supporting you. And that's even our kids who will go on and play football. Like, I'll go and watch them play football and follow their careers, and I really enjoy that part of this whole thing too.
If you can give one piece of advice to the parents of young athletes today, what would it be?
I would just say, and we're already doing this, by the way, just so you know, like, you guys are doing this, all parents are doing this, is just be supportive during this process. And that support comes in financial, obviously, because it's not cheap to, youth sports are not cheap at any level. There was one day I calculated how much money we spent on youth sports, and I will never do that exercise ever again because I was so upset. You guys are laughing, but do it, and you'll get upset as well, just so you know.
Yes.
So it's really just support, like, whatever you can do to help support your kid to go through this. But it also has to come from them. Like, so let this be their journey and support them along their journey. I would that would be the biggest thing. And that's been a hard thing for me. Like, so, like, the relationship I have with my son, I coach him, right? Like, and so this is the rules that we set in place, is that we don't talk about basketball when we're at home. We don't talk about basketball in the car. If he brings it up, sure, but that's not the thing. Here on the court, I coach him. I'm his coach. After that, I'm his dad. And so I've set really clear guidelines and rules of how I was going to manage this relationship, player, coach, and father, son. And so, but whatever he needs to do to support him in this journey, I'm trying to do it, whether that's drive to wherever, the locations you go to for these games, and to help support them, to fly them across the country, whatever it is to support them, I try to do that. And, for me, I know enough people. I can get, guys to train them. I can get, Rocky has worked with LJ before. Like, I can get the right people around him to get him what he needs. I'm lucky that I have those type of names and contacts in my phone. And if you don't, find that person that can help support your kid in their journey. And that's really it.
All right, so listen. At the end of each episode of MicdinPod, we have a segment called The Orange Moment.
You know how excited I am that it's called the Orange Moment, because our school colors are orange and blue, and so
There you go.
I have a lot of orange in my life. You see it right now. Like, there's a lot of orange. And I'm not sure if I look great in orange, but I rock it.
You're rocking it. Looks good.
All right, thank you, Val.
So what the Orange Moment is a time, a shift, a moment that happens in your life. You as a coach, you as a dad, you as a person, something that happens that it changes from, oh, we're all having orange wedges on the sideline, until now it starts to get real. Now this is a serious moment in sports. What is your orange moment?
So I can tell you right now, it's an easy one. So it is what we are going through right now in this game of basketball, not in basketball, for college sports in general, right? Like, so the whole NIL, the portal, this has changed everything that I do and everything. And so, like, I see this from a couple different vantage points. I see it from, hey, my current kids that I have, including my own son, right? Like, current kids, trying to play college basketball, it's harder than it's ever been before. It was already hard. It's harder than it's ever been before. And that most of these schools want older and not younger kids coming out of high school. And so there are less spots available for, and you look at tomorrow Illinois will start a whole bunch of kids who are from not from the U.S. and so they're recruiting outside of the United States now too, and so it's just become harder and harder for our kids to play college basketball. The seniors I have on my team.
Illinois is not helping the situation because
no, not
coaches are going to see that they did it, and now they're in the Final Four.
Not at all. Not at all. And then you're basically on a year-to-year contract, and I'll say contract because I think now there's money involved in all this stuff, and so like even all my kids who are college players right now, that they have representation, an agent, somebody who is repping them, and I'm not always sure that the person who's repping them has their best interest all the time too, and so every kid is like basically a 1-year contract, and I look at my experience of playing at Bentley and is the fact that I was there for 4 years. I had the kids who I played with, those guys are still like long-lasting friends because we were together for so long and went through the same experiences for so long, and those are lifelong friends. And I'm not sure if that's going to happen anymore, because kids are jumping from one school to the other to another school. And the other part to that no one is really talking about is that if you're jumping to 3 or 4 different schools, all your credits aren't going with you. So some of these kids aren't graduating from places, and so fortunately, my kids are going to high academic schools, and they're a little bit more sturdy. I think if you look at Purdue, what we just talked about, like, hey, that might be one of the more sturdy situations there is in college basketball, right? Like they had 3 seniors who were there for 4 years that were playing on that team with CJ Cox, right? Like but that's a rarity. I think it was the ACC and the SEC. I think they had 1 or 2 kids that stayed at their school for 4 years. Like it's just a wild and crazy time.
Yeah, in the whole league.
In the whole league. So this whole thing is different, and so now, I talk to some of my players who are playing college basketball, and they're wondering what about their current situation, like what should they do about their current situation, good, bad, or indifferent, because someone's telling them they should probably look at another situation, right? And so I'm lucky that most of my kids, like I said, we have a kid at Yale, we have a kid at Harvard, we have a kid at Princeton. Like, not many kids are leaving Yale, Harvard, Princeton. So that's just, that's just what it is, right? But like everyone looks at this whole thing as like pretty much a one year, and you're in the transfer portal and you're looking at your next situation. I'm not always sure kids are leaving for the right situation. Maybe you're going to another school that affords you a little bit more money, but may not afford you the same playing time or the same basketball opportunities, and that might cost you money in your future. So it's just, this whole thing has become really, really difficult. And I think college coaches don't find it as fun to do it because they can't coach kids as hard as they would like to coach kids because they're afraid they're going to leave. There's I can't imagine what alumni games will look like in the future because
I'm not sure think about that.
How tied you are, or like I literally talked to a coach yesterday. He goes, I'm not sure if I'll be going to another player's wedding anymore because I've only coached him for a year. Or I don't really know this kid. Like I look at my coaches as like some of the more transformative people I've been around my whole entire life, right? Right now I would still try to, like, if I needed something or I needed advice, like those would be some of the first phone calls I would make. And so, but that was 4 years of me being around that person, right? Like that person was a trusted individual for me. And so, I think kids are missing out on stuff like that.
So let me try to pull this in. So your orange moment, if we could say your orange moment, is the challenge is the portal. So the orange moment and challenge is the portal. What is the lesson and where does the shift? How are you pivoting from this?
The lesson is really trying to find, and this has always been a thing for us, but trying to find the right fit for you so you're not finding yourself in the portal trying to continue to keep finding your fit all the time, right? Like to really do your homework on the front end. Try to go up to a place where you would like to see yourself for more than 1 year. But it's hard. I think this whole thing is made it very difficult for kids or for families to make the right choice and to try to figure out the right path for themselves. And I feel like I'm in this current thing where I'm helping my current players. I'm helping my players who are in college already, who I thought the job was done with them, but it's never going to be done with them now. And trying to help them with their decision making. And so it's just become harder than it's ever been before. But we will fight the good fight as we always do around here.
There you go.
I think you bring up like an important piece. We're talking about kids, right? And now we're talking about kids making money, career choices, and we're losing the piece of it. And this even starts before they're getting NIL deals and they're going to college.
Correct.
Is we're losing actual human development.
We are.
Right? Because when you go back to college and those experiences, that's where you grew, right? And you have to be in a space and have those adversities and be around people and get to know them to actually have that growth experience. That's something that when the girls were looking at the schools, is like, where can they grow? They might where they are going to be a little uncomfortable, because after that, if they aren't doing that in those 4 years with the people that are around them and their environment that challenges them with whether they were playing in college or with playing in college, having a coach that has an expectation and a standard for them, right? Where there's, right? Because these all transcends to, why do we do sports? There's, it's about all these intangible things, right? That you learn discipline, you learn teamwork, you learn, like structure. I mean, so many lessons. It's just, you can go on. But when you skip around and go from team to team, all chasing financial gain, and I'm not negating that for kids, their opportunities to be able to do that and monetize, especially off their names and likeness when the university is like, they should be able to, but there's no loyalty, there's no buy-in. You don't get a time to be in the culture, you don't get actually sometimes a time to be uncomfortable and actually break open and see what where you can grow or who you really are. So who are we actually putting out into the world afterwards? We're putting out and I want to say we're just putting, it makes it harder, because then you're getting those lessons maybe a little later than you would learn them at 18 to 21 or 22. You're not getting those till you're in your 20s, and now you're in the workplace. And guess what? When you're in that workplace, you might be going to work every day and doing what you need to do and performing well. And then you're coming home, maybe to your apartment. Maybe you still live at home, but you by yourself, right? And so then you're again alone, and those development things aren't happening the way that they should or they could have years ago, because people have these opportunities. I mean, something's going to have to change. It's not a great business model for these universities. It's not a great long-term investment. When I'm saying I'm going to pay you $10 million, but $2 million, you're going to stay here for a year, leave. I'm not even getting the return on my investment on you actually being there. You don't have the buy-in, you don't have the culture. And I mean, colleges are already expensive for people in general. So the colleges are going to end up upside down at some point with what they're paying.
They are, or what's going to happen is they're going to get rid of sports, and they're just going to have, a couple of main sports. So the problem I have with it all too is like, hey, listen, I know I'm a better person because, my first year I was able to start right away as a freshman, but like, it wasn't like I was
a humble brag. Okay. I'm not mad at that humble brag.
But I think about this. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was lucky to be on a pretty talented team, and they, I was able to beat a guy out and play right away. But at the same time, though, like, I wasn't a star. I was the fifth guy on the court, no doubt about it, every single time I was out there. And I'm okay with that, but like, I grew into a role to be a leader. Like you said, I was a captain as a junior and in my senior year. But I grew into those roles, right? Like, and now you're not really growing into those roles, or you have kids who didn't play as a freshman and now are leaving because they didn't play. And like, what are we teaching our kids? Like, oh, listen, like, we're not teaching our kids to handle adversity, to tell them like, you know what? Just go somewhere else. And you just talked about it. So when they get to the real world, and let's just say they don't like their boss now, what are you going to do? You're just going to leave, and because, I don't like my boss, I'm done here. Like, you got to be able to fight through some things here. You're going to, there needs to be a little bit of discomfort. And now we are doing and we do this as parents all the time. We are trying to protect our kids from any kind of discomfort. And, and I really believe that actually any kind of growth, you actually need to go through some discomfort if you're going to grow. And, I don't think right now the college game, no matter what the sport is now allowing kids to be able to grow because they want instant gratification. And it's really been hard for kids to grow into a role or grow on that team. And I'm a better person from being able to grow into a leader on the same team for the 4 years that I was there. I don't think kids are going to get that anymore. I don't think coaches are going to coach them the same way. They're not going to go through hard, and they're not going to have any adversity. And if they do have any adversity, they're just going to leave. They're just going, I'm not going to stay here. And I think we're setting our kids up for failure, for sure by doing that.
I agree. I mean, that's where the parents we have to step in. We have to allow our kids to have those discomforts. Hey, if a coach is telling you that something that about the way you played or the expectation of you, and you didn't like live up to that or perform up to that, like that's real. You know, and that might be hard to hear. But then you know what? You have a choice, not necessarily an excuse on it. You have a choice in how you're going to handle it, and it shouldn't be just based on emotion. And that, unfortunately, it comes from a lot of the parents. If a coach has bad intentions and but I think overall most coaches that get into this are doing it for the right reasons and really care about the people that they recruit and their team and their culture. And so, you're not going to always hear everything that you want to hear from your coach. You know what I mean? But that becomes an internal growth process right there on how you're going to handle it. And we completely encourage that. We allow our kids to vent, but we don't allow them to make up excuses if there's something that they could have done on their level.
Absolutely.
And we're not experts, we're not perfect, but I think that there's overall there's a gap there, and it has a lot to do with the fact that they're making money, and I think they should make money. I do, but I think
I'm not against the money making. I'm not against that. It's just I think this whole thing is becoming harder and harder for our kids, and I worry about what we're spitting out in the next few years when these kids actually do finish at these schools. And I think I told you this earlier, but like the untold stories that these kids aren't graduating because their credits aren't transferring from one school to another. And I'm sure no one's teaching them how to handle this money that they're making too. And I think that's a whole nother podcast. I'm being serious. We went into that, who's teaching these kids how to handle the money? What are they doing? How are they spending it on? Are they prepared for when the tax man comes in April, like it is now? Are they ready for those things? Have they set enough money aside to pay for their tax? We might be setting some kids up for some real hard times because they took this little bit of money to go play this one place, but 5 years down the road, they don't have a degree and they don't have any of that money that they thought was a lot of money. And you guys know it's not a lot of money after a while. It goes really quickly. All
right, so let's throw this out there. Do you think that in the next few years that college sports, right, there'll still be the academic piece if people want it, but do you think that it's actually just going to become almost like a semi-pro?
I do.
Professional.
I do. It's there now.
It's like a B league before, right?
And I talk about basketball because I know it much better. But you saw the stories this year about a guy played in the NBA and they came back and played college basketball. That guy's a pro. That's craziness to me. In Illinois, all these guys have been playing professionally for years.
They're all professionals.
They're all professionals, and so the line is very blurry now. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a unique thing, but the line is really blurry now, and so you might as well just call these guys professionals because they're being paid to play. And again, this is happening at Division III. Even schools like that are trying with their local pizza shop to get kids $50 or $100 or whatever. Like,
In Division 3, that happens?
Yeah, they're trying to do whatever they can to be able to get kids money. Because
Yeah, incentives.
yes, yeah, and so
Yeah.
it's wild. I mean, we're in a very, very wild time. I don't know how it gets better. There at some point in time, I'm sure there'll be some type of regulation, but like, because I think it will actually hurt higher ed at some point in time. Like, how are you giving this student this much money when the university probably needs this money?
I agree.
You know?
I think something's going to happen, and some type of
I
regulation.
think you're going to see some schools close down because they're going to have to close their doors
something's gonna
because.
happen. But what a time to be an athlete right now! Like, this is exciting.
No doubt.
You know what I mean?
And I'm
This
happy
is
for those
awesome.
guys making the money that they're making. That is all well and good. I worry about the education that they're getting with all this money. Like, who's educating these kids now that you're making this money, and do those kids know, like, some of this money, it sounds like it's a lot of money, but like when you start paying taxes on it, like, and what you're purchasing, are you setting some of it aside? Like, where is all that stuff happening? It's a whole new ball game, literally.
Yeah.
Well, listen,
this
we
is great.
appreciate you coming on. We appreciate it. I think we took too much of your time. We're way over.
This is awesome.
I didn't think we were gonna talk this long. I didn't want to keep you on for so long, but we really appreciate your time. I do know. Are you still doing? Are you still the director of Lamar Reddicks Basketball Academy?
That's right. I'm waiting to pass that on to my son, but yes, as of today, yes.
So I want to give you a little shout out on that. Where else can people find you and connect with you if they're looking to go to Milton Academy or play for you or something?
Yeah,
like
I
that?
think I mean, like, I think everyone does things on social media. MA Boys Hoops is our Instagram, and we're on X. You can email me, obviously, at Milton Academy, which is easy enough to be able to do. But we have camp opportunities for kids. If you're I give guidance to folks who are looking to get into this world. I always say Milton Academy is not for everybody, so I'm always helpful to be able to help guide people in the right direction. I think this game has given a lot to me, so I love to be able to give back to the game. So however I can be able to help, I'm here to help.
That's
Love
awesome.
it.
I love that. Well, listen.
No matter
thanks
what
for
Jeremy
joining us.
says about you, I was like, you know what? I think he's
Thank
all
you,
right.
Gal. Thank you. I know what he'd be saying. I know he says. I know. I hear it. It gets back to me. So thankful to be on with you guys. I appreciate it. I love what you guys are doing. I think this stuff is really, again, like I do a lot of talking at camps and things like that, and there is so much information that I think families can learn from, and there's great value in doing a podcast like this. So I thank you guys for what you guys are doing as well.
Awesome, man.
Thanks. Well, thanks for being our guest. We appreciate you.
No problem. All right. Anytime you guys want me back, I'm here. And if Jeremy's ever, I'll be the co-host with you, Val.
Yeah, all right.
I think we would make a good team. This guy is.
I agree.
He's holding you back. Just so you know, he's holding you back. Just so you know.
I know this, Lamar. Like, I know I'm holding it back.
It just has to be said. That's the thing. It just has to be said.
Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for being locked in with MicdinPod.
Thank you.
You guys are great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being locked in with MicdinPod.